Okay, thank you.
I can stop, but I'm just testing.
Well, Sean's already through and there's, and he didn't want them there.
We locked down in the basement.
Yeah, and then he was.
He's like a little engine light.
Because like, I'm somebody in our yard, I use the range, but it's violent.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not, yeah, so that's the only.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well.
No, I got it. And then the floor was sliding over. Rolling off, rolling off.
But the guy was, the guy was at the drink, I thought
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just got the. Yeah. So we got.
I was gonna really complain about it. Right out there, and I got out of my truck.
So we didn't talk to him about.
Yep. And it's not yours.
Clear. You feel like you're a pro now? A lot of options and stuff.
We're still not.
Like I need a microphone or a gas.
We make it out.
Oh. Really?
So, that's my goal. I was gone too.
I was
Where'd you go?
Oh, yeah, no.
Eventually, just home a couple of days, and then train one day.
Mind
You don't get away, it's your particular weed.
Oh, I'll be here.
That stuff doesn't happen.
I finally got-
We'll see.
It's 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order, please. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being recorded using OWL technology, and it will be available on Fairfax's YouTube channel. And our apologies for our last month's meeting being interrupted before it was complete due to some technical issues. So hopefully tonight will go smoothly. So roll call, please, and state your name.
Tom here, Tom there, Mike here.
Kate Patient here.
Mary Ann right here. And Nicole is absent. Moving on, approval of the consent agenda, a motion, please.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Aye. Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next on the agenda, I have a mayoral proclamation that I'm going to read, so please bear with me as I go through that. I'll kick in, so I have to yell. Okay, this is a mayoral proclamation. Whereas Valor Incorporated in partnership with the Cedar Rapids Metro Area Veterans Council, the Iowa City VA Medical Center, and the Lynn County Continuum of Care will hold Lynn County's 17th annual Stand Down for Homeless and Near Homeless Veterans and Non-Veterans. And whereas stand down is a term used in times of war in which exhausted combat units come off the battlefield to rest and recover in a place of safety. And whereas, according to the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, the first stand down was organized in 1988 by a group of Vietnam veterans in San Diego. And whereas today's stand down also refers to a community-based program that provides and assists homeless and near homeless veterans transition to community living by providing access to human services agencies, including benefits, counseling such as Social Security and veterans, employment and training assistance, eye exam screenings, healthcare screenings, housing services, legal assistance, mental health treatment, and substance abuse counseling. And whereas Stand Down has been used as an effective tool in reaching out to homeless veterans nationally, reaching more than 200,000 veterans and their family members. Now therefore, I, Mayor Joanne Beer for the City of Fairfax, Iowa, do proclaim September 7th, 2023 as the 17th annual 5-season Stand Down Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impacts of this event, to assist veterans, and to express gratitude to those who have served and continue to serve. Thank you. Moving on to reports. Don't see the sheriff's deputy yet. Library, Kathy?
Kathy Bain, Fairfax Public Library Director. Just coming off of summer reading, we had 53 school-age students participating that read just under 709 hours this summer. We had 5 teens and 9 adults participating. They read 95 books and 6,240 minutes, or about 140 hours. So it was fairly successful. We also had several events, and we had about 250 people participate in things like the zoo and a magic show, and that's sort of things. Otherwise, we're just trying to get back down to normal now. Is there any questions? That's normal. Leaking roofs.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Fire department, chief.
I work. Hello, council. So first of all, we've been on about 180 calls for service so far this year, which is probably right in the same average of what we have in the last year or two. So business is steady. I wasn't here at the last council meeting, I don't think, so I don't know if you had any information updated on the USA days, on how everything went. Minimal. So the fire department side of it, we, obviously the fireworks went off without a hitch. Little moisture, some lightning. That's 100 of them didn't light. Our picnic wasn't very good. I don't know how many of you heard about it or asked about it or don't care, but we were down probably 200 to 300 sandwiches on sale, so we had a lot of leftovers, which we shipped over to Parks and Recs, and I think they got rid of most of them, but, so the numbers were, my opinion, fire department wise, parade wise, the numbers were very low last year, I thought. There might have been a lot of people at different places. I know Joe had a big tournament down at the ballpark and that was busy, but the fire department and uptown where we were at, I don't know how you did at the library, Kathy, but yeah, I thought the numbers were absolutely terrible. So I think it's definitely something that you as a city council, whoever's gonna be in charge of doing this, the committee or whatever, definitely need to look at some things to figure out, is it worth our time to do it? And if it is, what do we need to do to make it worth our time to do it? Because like I say, I mean, besides the fireworks, which was a surprise that there was that many people down there in the rain, I don't know. It seemed like a lot of cars left town after the fireworks, so, but you know, during the day, like Kathy said, I thought uptown was terrible. I don't know how the Knights or whoever was selling loins, how they did. I know the Legion breakfast was a smash, which was awesome for them, and I think they had the biggest crowd that they've had yet, so. But that afternoon wall was pretty bad for everybody else, I think. So just something to think about. I don't know how the kids' rides went. I wasn't down there. If they had a lot of kids on the stuff, or if it was more of the kids from Joe's tournament that were across the street, brothers and sisters, or you know what I mean? I don't know how it all averaged out, but I think we definitely need to sit down and discuss what we wanna do for next year and do it before March and April. It needs to be done while all these thoughts are in everybody's heads on what we can or can't do to make it better, or even do it or not do it or something, because I didn't think it was very good, in my opinion. And I don't know how many of you were even there, but what you thought of the parade and how long it was. When you're in it, you don't really know how big it is, but you can see how many people there are watching you, and there was not that many people, in my opinion, watching compared to years past. Thirdly, sorry. Some of the officers and I have been talking on more room at the fire department, and nothing is official on anything that we do or don't want to present to the city, but I want your opinion before we put a lot of time and effort into it. Is it something that you would be interested to at least look at, or is it something that, maybe we don't want to put anything else down there because you want to build a new fire station in the next 10 or 20 years? But, we're just kind of running out of room. We need a building to store stuff, whether it's attached to the current building or it's separated from the current building. If you guys can think about that and just think about it at this point, drive by the fire station, look back there and say, oh yeah, there's room for a building, or I think it'd be better if we just added another 50 feet onto the building we have. Any kind of ideas before we put a lot of time and effort into it? Yeah.
Chief, just a couple of comments. The library went through a formal needs assessment study. Have you thought about that, where a consultant can come in and tell you what you might need depending on whether it's for trucks or equipment?
No, that part of it we have under control. We just need room for the stuff that we already currently have. So I just need space more than I need to pay somebody to come in and say, oh, you need more room. We don't want to do that. We as a fire department have enough people that do different occupations that we can figure out what we need and want. I don't want to pay somebody $1,000 to come in and say, yeah, you need more room.
We did that with EMA, and did a big study, big plan, all this, and the needs assessment. I can't remember how much it cost, then they went and bought another property.
Out on Highway 13,
Yep.
counting on
So,
the road.
Yeah.
All that money was just wasted for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Spanky, do
don't-
you know approximately how, you said like 50 feet, are you thinking like how wide is your existing building?
Right now, we're 30 feet, so.
So are you thinking like a 50
So,
by
like-
30?
So like where the back part of it faces the garage, that building is 30 feet. The length of the width of the building all the way down is 30 feet wide. And then it's, I don't know, 100 and, I'll have to add up the additions.
So do you have room to add another 50 feet back there? Is that what you were thinking?
That's kind of the route I was thinking originally. We would have to move the generator. So cost wise, it would be a little bit more. It would probably make the most sense to add on to it.
Are you thinking just like a metal, like a post frame building?
Well, you
Or
know.
what were you thinking? It's just for
If
storage.
we actually added on, it would probably be just a footing, just like what we have. It would just try to make it match and be continuous. If it was, excuse me, if it was a separate building, then yes, I would say a EIB, Morton building, whatever you want to call them, the metal buildings, that would be separate. And I talked to them just to get a rough idea, you know, because the price of everything is just skyrocketed. So I just talked to Lucas and got some numbers before I even talked to my officers really about it, just so I could say, maybe, or I'd go, I won't spend that much money. So But, you know, it could even be cheaper to add on than it might be to do a separate building. But it's just, right now, we're just kind of in the thought process through the fire department. Just trying to think of ways that we can get more room for training and equipment and not spend, you know, $6.5 or $7 million on a new fire station. That's probably low today. Atkins is $4.5 million, and we have a lot more trucks than they do. Not bragging, I'm just saying, it's gonna cost a lot more. But anyway, I just want you all to think about it, and we're gonna talk about it more as a fire department, and then I can hopefully bring more information to you next month on maybe some ideas that we have, and then, you know, if you think it's something feasible or not feasible.
Is there anything on the CIP list? I don't remember seeing anything long term.
No. Fire department really doesn't have anything on there, because like when we get our trucks, we just bond them.
So last year, during budget, we mentioned it, talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing, I don't think really got written down. And it's not, you know, we're gonna have our one truck paid for in 25. So if we had to do a bond or something like that. But we do have some money that was left to us when someone passed away that we can use to help spearhead the project, unless the interest rates sink again, go back to that percent.
Right.
But anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to throw that out there. If you say, yeah, why don't you go ahead and do some homework and bring it back to me, we will do that in the next month or two. But if you think it's not a good idea, you can tell me now, and I will honor my feelings. I just won't waste any time on this.
We'll say they look fire.
We had a fire? Oh, we did.
Let me just add a little info.
Oh my God, you can say it's in here.
So you know, the changes that they made with property taxes, they made some bond requirement changes too, so we'll have to look into that because they are changing what you can do.
What we can do now.
For the better.
My thought would be to have him, get tentative prices on what a separate building would cost and what an addition would cost. Just so we have an idea of what we're looking at. I don't think we're in a position to put up a new, like a Taj fire
I
station
think
at this
we're
time.
farther down the way on what.
I mean, if you wanna build a new station.
I'm sure I
fine
can
with
twist
me,
your arm.
because I
It's in
said
our
when
long
there's a
range
new
plan, but I
station,
don't
I'm
think it's in
done,
our
so
short range
we
plan.
can start that thing tomorrow.
Let me ask this, Mike, is there, you're talking about expansion, and on, with the breeding precedence in satellite station on the north side of town, I mean, that'd be a detriment, not beneficial to what you're talking
Well,
about?
we had that once. Station 3.
And I just, you said that would be
It's,
a better or worse alternative.
in my opinion, worse.
Okay, that's.
It's a bigger headache for us.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
We've got 2 to deal with now. When we had 3, it was a pain in the butt.
So less beneficial for the ones.
Or we could throw a new one up on here, just close that one down. Then you'd be on the new chief. New station, new chief.
I see your space wise versus
Yeah,
location wise.
no, I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway. And we did have a structure fire on Seaman Drive. Sorry, I forgot. And I have not heard, are the signs still up, Lynn?
Yeah,
The condemned?
yes, they were as of earlier this week.
So we had a structure fire, we were in Norway at a structure fire. Tom's brother-in-law's. And, about an hour in or so, we got called for a structure fire at Fairfax, so we had 2 of them going at the same time. And, the house driving by, you can see that it's damaged, but, basically it burned out the kitchen and another room, and smoke damage, it's not livable. The lady that lives there isn't in the best of health anyway, I don't think, and it's kind of a sad deal, but I don't know what they did with her, but I don't know what will go on with that property, but I would think that the city probably needs to keep an eye on that down there to make sure that somebody doesn't start living in it. If nothing's done by winter, I'm sure it's gonna be a home for homeless. Someone will probably be in there staying. So I definitely something to keep an eye on. No. That's all I got.
Anything else?
Anything for me?
Did you get the guidance that they wanted, that you wanted from the council?
I gave you guidance, did you guys agree with that, or?
Yeah, just looking at the cost of an existing building where the generators or a separate building.
Did you hear that, Mike?
Build the building over the generator? I thought about
That'll keep it warm in the winter.
I thought about that,
The
yeah.
room
That's an option.
Cause can you ventilate it off the back?
Oh, heck yeah.
There you go.
Chris, hang tight.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
jump in.
Perfect timing. You're up. Deputy?
Deputy General, Captain Report, the time of 7/11 to today, you had 66 officers and hours of July. Had a few, door-to-door people coming through. Yeah, thanks about that. Salesman.
I had one call.
I did contact your office about keeping an eye on the speed limit on Southview Road.
They got a sign up,
Pardon me?
they got a sign up, tells you if they're speeding or not.
On Southview?
There's one on 80.
Didn't know about the one on Southview. Very good.
Been there like probably a week, hasn't it?
Pretty close. Another one on 80 has been there quite a while. Around on Saturday.
Any other questions for the deputy?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, everyone.
Okay, building department, Chris.
Yeah, Crystal, building department, I can, add to what Becky was saying about that fire on Burger Lane, you know, placards up there.
That's it, Saturday night. Sorry.
I gave you the wrong address, wrong street, but, I have talked to the insurance company, they're assessing whether to get a demo it or try to fix it. Yeah, cool. Let them know that they have, 60 days to do something before the city's gonna start. Quick. Any questions on that? Before I move on? All right, building wise, the residential is fairly slow. Another month with no new starts on the single family stuff. Commercial's busy, a lot of commercial stuff going on around town. ENZ didn't meet, didn't have any complaints. The sidewalk stuff was in your packet. Any questions on that? So that amount was, I believe, $3,600.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wait,
That's our contract amount. That's for 5 miles of sidewalk, which I'm certain we don't have near that much. So they said, depending on what we come up with mileage, they will give us some of that back. That percentage. Didn't give us any real solid numbers on that, but said, yeah, they will give us something back on that 5 mile mark. So that survey will start on the 21st. I have, I think a couple hours of training, then I'm gonna just beat the sidewalks till it's done. Hopefully I can have it done within, I don't know, a week or less than that, 3 days. How fast I feel. Any questions for me?
Okay, maintenance department, Lynn.
Lynn Miller, maintenance department, everything's been going pretty much as usual. If you haven't noticed, they're going around the old part of town, Prairie Road builders didn't make it in. They got their stuff done, ended up getting just a hair cheaper than what they quoted, so that was kind of nice. The complex lights, for the most part, are in, working, everything. We're gonna have a meeting on Friday, and teaching us how to program them, and kind of go through stuff on the lights. With Hawks Ridge, all the wires been pulled, they're starting to work on putting up the bollards today. If everything goes good with the weather, they should be maybe complete Friday, if worst case scenario, first part of next week. We'll see, but they're going really well, no complaints I've seen. So after the meeting tonight, even maybe drive around, check out the lights down or. For the new park department, we have the playground equipment in, I don't know if I was gonna mention any of that or not, but it's all in the shop. Some of the guys started working on some of the footing holes today, so we'll be messing with that on and off as we can the next few weeks, so hopefully it'll be up reasonable amount of time. The frisbee golf stuff just came in today, the order. So what'll be your next project after that? Been working also on the tree grant, we'll have it with assistance of the underground gallows for the new park, see if we can't get a few trees to get planted this fall. If we don't get the grant, we'll still probably do it anyway, just with our own budget, but we'll for the grant. And Brian and Kevin will talk about water and sewer stuff, but Brian may mention that we've been working a lot with GIS, locating stuff, curb stops and valves that we've had issues in the past. I'll let Brian kind of talk about that a little bit. Then Scotty kind of hinted at the end of her thing, last rain we had a leak in the library. The roof's 2 years old. So we called the company and they are supposedly, they got bought out, of course. So they're supposedly gonna come down and look at it, see if they'll do anything or not. So we're waiting to hear back from them. Same old stuff. But anything for me?
Did you get any complaints from any residents about when Prairie Road Builders was putting down their,
For the chips?
Yeah.
Only one person that I can remember spilled in the grass a little bit.
by an alley by chance?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
They didn't get out of the right of way, it's still our right of way.
Yeah, it's still already,
It's not
and
in
when
there.
we went there, I couldn't find him. So.
I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I talked to him and stuff, and he said he already cleaned it up, but when the road builders came in, they were already aware of the house, so they were pretty particular when they were doing their stuff.
That's good to know.
Anything else?
Thanks, Lynn. Water and wastewater, Kevin, and tag team Brian.
Now we're gonna tag team this. Well, Kevin stands for water and wastewater. First thing I gotta take ownership for. City got a notice of violation for a monitoring violation for the water department. And that notice is going out to the public. And if you will let me explain, you can decide if it was my fault or not.
I want you out of here by January 1st.
How about tonight? So the second quarter of the year, we were supposed to do nitrate tests on well number 1 and 2. Lab sent out the bottles, sent out the chain of custody. Brandon filled it out, sent the samples in May, early on. We got the results back. And all of them come July 5th, 6th, lab calls me and says, we're checking our records and we see we didn't do the nitrate test for the second quarter. And I says, well, you did, didn't you? No, we did nitrite. I says, why'd you do that? Well, we run the wrong tests. So took them 2 months to figure that out. If we were diligent in our efforts, we probably would have caught that. But we're already in the third quarter. So the lab says, we'll call the DNR and we'll get it stopped. And you can't stop that notice. The public is required to know that we missed a test. But the city does nitrate and nitrate tests every single week on every well in our system. So we know the water was safe, we do the test, they're not certified, like what the lab wants, the DNR every quarter. So we got the notice, that's fine, lab messed up, lab takes no responsibility. We take the notice and we get the hit. So in that same process, last week or about 2 weeks ago, Brandon called the lab, was checking on the temperature of the samples sent in. Lab sent the wrong paperwork for the third quarter samples. Brandon caught that. Called them on it. They said, oh, okay, we'll send you the right paperwork. So then he called back to check on the samples because we had one set of samples go in, the temperature didn't match. And he called in and asked if the samples got there and they were okay. And he says, we never got your samples. And he says, what? He says, call us back at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we'll let you know. Well, this is on Wednesday. So samples we have to take are 24 hours ahead of the time. So keep this in mind. So Brandon come in that night, started samples again. He said, I'll run them up to the lab. I said, no, you won't. I'm gonna run them up to the lab. So I took the samples up to the lab. Just before I got there, Brandon called me and says, they got the samples. I says, well, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna drop these off and talk with them anyway. So I got there and they says, the people in the lab, not the lab manager. She said, do you know how many samples we get that day? And I said, yeah. And I said, we were just asking if we done. She goes, well, we done. I told you not to call for one. I said, do you have to know the samples have to be taken 24 hours ahead of time? This now is on Thursday, and they don't do samples on Friday. So it's like, we were gonna get another notice. And I says, no, this is gonna change. So Brandon called that week the lab 4 times on different things that were a problem. So we have consequently switched labs, and we're now working with the Hygenics lab. We're gonna save some money on the shipping and mailing, but their lab is still a little more expensive. So in the end, it'll be about a wash. So you can decide it was my fault. I take responsibility for the notice, but hopefully we're not gonna have this again. So. Brian will fill you in on the rest of it.
They even said that they left Betsy on their.
Oh, yeah. She said, I left the message on the machine. So Lynn and I looked on the machine, we read all the messages. They never called.
Never called.
So to me, I gotta have a reliable lab, somebody I can trust. And we're losing faith in this one. So the cheapest always is the best. So you get what you pay for. And I can't afford the city to have any more notices and violations. So, Brian. Yes, sir. You're on.
Brian Norda, future waterways fire supervisor. So the only things I had is, we had, obviously by now you probably know that the well 1 project rehab is complete, almost 99% done. One piece that we had that alerted us to the problem that burned up is yet to show up. It's been 6 weeks of, it'll be here this week. So one of those things is still going on. Apparently they're having problems with that dealer, the manufacturer of that part, so it does work. We have to run it manually a certain way to get it to work so we don't have other problems, but it does work, so. So we've been dealing with that for the 6 weeks. They just got the invoice back from it, and it was just shy of 25,000, which in our opinion was a really good deal because we were expecting it to be in the 35 to 40 area. So by doing what we have done, it's gonna take us beyond the new startup of the new well system, and we may never have to do anything to that one again, depending on the timing of when we shut those wells down in the future. So we should be good for at least 7 years, I'm thinking.
So that bill for next council meeting, you'll have a it'll be on the agenda for approval of that bill, since it's over the $10,000. We failed to get that on this council agenda, so.
The other thing, like Lynn alluded to, was curb stop. Went through a project, our GIS system has all the utilities marked that we can go out and find them later. And I went through and did a survey of all the stuff that was showing up there, and there was 116 addresses that we did not have the curb stops located on the computer system. So we logged that on, logged it in, logged it down, whatever, made a list, and then, with most of our Dallas and I went around and for 2 weeks was looking for these curb stops to try and find them, knocked down to 23. And that'll be the 23 hardest ones that we have left, because we can't find them for one reason or another in the simple procedures that we did. So we'll have to see whether we gotta get into somebody's house and see if we can do electric cord to put the locator to find it, or if we're gonna have to make arrangements and just start digging to find them. Because either the old information is no longer around, or whatever, there's no information that I can find to track down. They used to do manual measurements off of property pins, and not all the addresses have that information, so we tried witching, we tried this, that, and everything else. Some of them were buried 20-some inches in the ground, so it's kind of hard to find them with a metal detector, but we got some.
It's damaged over the years with mowers or whatever.
Some might not have the caps, and you're looking for a 3/4 inch pipe. That's not as easy to find either, so. And lastly, I just found out that we are due probably this month for that service truck. It's finally gonna come around, that we talked about back in December, I think. So we're finishing up some last paperwork, and perhaps this time next month, we should have it in town. We shall see. That should be it for ours.
Can I just not impose a quick question? So, and I didn't intend to bring this up tonight, but you and Kevin, you flush the hydrants, or someone else that does it? Hydrant flushing?
We all do.
Okay, well, anyway, a couple weeks ago, plus or minus, on 80th Street, approximately Beverly Road intersection, there's a hydrant just up in north of the. Okay, and yes, it's a very dangerous spot to be facing north, and probably 3/4 of the left lane with your vehicle, the lights are all flashing. I happen to come back from town with a semi, and it is the worst blind spot, and to be honest with you. So I come from the north, and your vehicle is facing north in the west lane. And I could not see from here to the screen if someone was coming from the south to skirt around.
Okay, yep.
And my question, you could probably get over quite a bit farther towards the hydrant. It just seemed, it wasn't, and I'm not a freaky out guy.
No,
But it wasn't a very good spot. And the lights were flashing, but just, next time,
yep.
hover over a little bit to the west.
You betcha, I understand, yep.
Yeah, not raising no stink over it, but it is just a spot right there. You can't see if anybody's coming from the south.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah. Well, don't freak out over things.
Okay. All right, Parks and Rec, Joe?
Joe Kell, Parks and Rec Director. I think you guys have probably read the update that I have in your packet today. I really have nothing else to add, unless somebody's got some questions for me. Yes, Mike?
Would you consider the community garden a success for its first year?
Yes, I consider the community gardens to be a tremendous success for the first year. In fact, Lynn and I have already begun planning for 2024, and our plan is to double the size of the community gardens for next year.
We'll take them where they're at, and we'll take the 2 more to the west.
And there's some other things too that Lynn's unaware of, and I'm not gonna mention them today because I don't wanna blindside him, but there's some other upgrades I think we can do to it to make it even more resident friendly, so. Sorry, man, I shouldn't have even said that, but it's nothing, it's nothing big deal. But I will say this, Lynn, who at the very beginning of this said he wanted absolutely nothing to do with the community gardens, him and his crew have been completely helpful, have been nothing but helpful with the entire process. Exactly, still grass in Colorado. So, But yeah, absolutely, it's positive, it's a good thing. Now we got the hose problem fixed.
The banks want their spot next year.
What's that?
So the banks want their spot next year.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks, Joe.
all right.
All right, looks like I'm up next. I've got my report in the packet. I just wanted to provide some additional comments on the meeting that several staff members and myself had last Thursday with Convergent, which is our new potential industrial facility coming to the southwest side of town potentially. It was a very good exchange of information. It included people from, in addition to us, Convergent, Alliant Energy, Trevero, Economic Alliance, University of Iowa, because Convergent is now partnering with the University of Iowa. So a lot of good information was exchanged, connections made. There were still some outstanding questions. For example, the site location is different than what we originally thought it was going to be. We originally thought it was butting up against Lefferville Road, but now they're potentially looking at the far east corner of the property, so what they have decided.
Southwest.
Southeast, corner of 76th is the southeast.
No, not even that one.
No, it's been moved, Shane.
Southeast corner
They've moved it to the
of the
east
annex
corner.
Oh,
property.
they did,
Yeah.
over by that old house.
Yeah, right where the A-frame currently
Right
is.
on top of the apron.
Over Bennington.
I think it'd be able to get sewer.
Well,
That's what they want to do.
So there's lots of
So they
questions.
decided that, or they're just
that's
looking?
what they offered.
That's what they were
Oh.
talking about, but there was discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to look at the service of the
Yeah.
But the maps they handed out to us showed it there. At that site, so that was a surprise.
No decisions, just ideas.
So that was a change.
terrible idea.
It's the most challenging for us.
But and they also discussed that there might be changes with the structure of the project with the state high jobs program and, so they're gonna work with the economic development group to work that out. We'll have to see if we have to do a different resolution for.
Yeah, I came out of that meeting with, there was more questions than I ever would have thought there would have been this late in the process.
So you gotta also look at 76 being improved and prize grants and there's a lot more to look at.
Right, yeah, when they move farther to the east, that's very true. So,
Do they indicate why they want to be east and not where they were?
I think Alliance tried.
I'll give you one big ass guess.
Oh.
No,
Oh. It's a shame.
it's a service issue.
and then whether or not they wanted to connect to, Trevero's, rail spur came into play, which potentially would cause them to come a little bit further west, because if they're far east, that wouldn't make sense, so, still a lot of questions. So, we'll keep in touch on that when we hear back from them. So that's the only additional thing that I have. So Shane, ready for engineering?
Yeah, Shane Wicks Engineering. And like Joe, I don't have anything other than what's in the report, so be happy to answer any questions or.
Okay, thanks, Shane. Moving on to number 7 on the agenda, a public hearing for the application for voluntary annexation from Iowa Land and Building Company. This particular annexation is for the property that's approximately 170 acres located north of 76th Avenue and east of Lefferville Road, which includes the conversion project that we were just talking about. And this is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing now. Cynthia, did we receive any comments from the public?
No.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions about this annexation?
I will take that back. I had one resident come in and discuss it with me, but she didn't leave any questions. I think I answered everything.
Good. Anything else? If not, I'll close the public hearing and the council can discuss. Do you have any questions? Resolutions in your packet, the descriptions in the packet. If not, we'll move on. Number 8, the resolution to approve the voluntary annexation application into City of Fairfax from Iowa Land and Building Company. Do I have a motion to adopt that resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please, Marion. Aye.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, resolution adopted. All right, moving on to number 9. Tom Arp would like to address the council. Tom?
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Name is obviously Tom Arp. Live on 511 West Cemetery Road. Longtime resident of Fairfax, Iowa. Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Mayor Beer, for the opportunity to speak today, and I'll be as brief as possible. During the June 2023 council meeting, council member Mike Daly stated to live all present and those listening in that he was tired of the ARPs holding this town hostage. That singling out of an individual family with that kind of slander did not go unnoticed or appreciated. Let me cover a few topics for you all to digest, and you decide who is holding who hostage. Number 1, 30+ years ago, I purchased a rundown eyesore farm within the city limits. I removed a large grove of dying pine trees, tiled a large pothole out down in the middle to dry it up, and eventually plotted out multiple residential lots along with a large commercial piece along the highway. All this is done with covenants to look appealing within the city. This created a large tax revenue base annually for the city of Fairfax. You're welcome. Number 2, as long as we're talking about the said property, I also agreed to sell the city a portion of the property for the pedestrian trail that they had begged for years. You're welcome. When main access in and out of town to the north was shut down due to highway construction, I gladly offered to have emergency vehicles owned by the city stored at our farm property inside, which we gladly utilized. You're welcome. And we offer our property to Prairie Road Builders to stage rock and equipment at the farm site. They're great people to work with, very appreciative, and happy to do that. You're welcome. And finally, I take extra effort to keep my entire farm property, which is in the city limits, picked up, weed sprayed, junked all the way, and equipment organized for your appearance. For all we have done, the above and more to be good neighbors and stewards of our property, this is what we have been given by the city in return. Approximately 5 years ago, my father was ordered to mow the road ditch. What he did is he was told he did a newly installed and unmarked manhole causing enough damage to render his riding lawnmower deck unusable. He contacted then Mayor Frieden, who stated, "Find a replacement deck, Regis, and we will take care of this." In time, my dad, Regis, purchased used decks as a suitable replacement and turned his bill into the city. The council determined they were not liable and denied any reimbursement. Thanks a lot. In a one-time family event at my household, we had cars parked on the side of the street in front of my residence. At the next city council meeting, the first item voted on was to bypass the required 2 hearings in order to post road signage, and instead determined they would place no parking signs in front of my house and on both sides of the road without allowing for public opinion or discussion of the matter. Thanks a lot. When installing drainage tubes to our property in order to help mitigate excess water runoff from the development of our city, we were given drainage tubes that were inadequate to handle the amount of water flow. At the same time these were built, 2 adjacent sites were built and given much larger tubes that are capable of handling the water flow that the area experiences. I feel this was an intentional in matter as a result of several instances a year of damage to our property. Thanks a lot. The city also refused to adequately repair damages created due to the installation of water and sewer services through my farm property. I'm sure we will all live with it, and even though the city is liable, that's all right. Thanks a lot. Just about done. Finally, the set of photos I had as proof of my selling issue over the course of several years didn't just appear on their own in this room. Someone in this room knows of their whereabouts. Things disappear, I guess, in Fairfax government, just as they do in Washington. Thanks a lot. In closing, all I have to say is to the city of Fairfax Council has chosen to burn a bridge between themselves and the Art family. My family has been in the area for over 60 years, and we have made efforts to get along and do things right. Please do not ever ask for anything from me or my family, for the answer is a predetermined no. I thank you for your time and attention. Good night.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to number 10. Discussion and possible mayoral appointment of Patrick Fitzgerald to the Library Board of Trustees. Patrick here tonight? No. Okay. So I will go ahead and appoint Patrick to fill the opening on the library board. Anything else needed, Cynthia? No. Okay. Moving on to number 11. I'll consider resolution to approve a proposal of services from Mike Gannon to provide Silurian aquifer predictive model. A little bit of background, and I'm sure Shane's going to talk more about this too. This came out of some meetings in our preparation for discussions with Alliant Energy for the possible annexation joining our property.
So this is kind of a spinoff from the modeling that Mike Gannon had done as for part of the US Geological Survey with Johnson County. I think we mentioned that previously in the council meeting. And originally Mike had kind of informed Cynthia, I think, had some early conversations with her, but informed the city through Cynthia that that study is like 2 years out, maybe 3 years out to be published, so. Well, we met with him here a couple of weeks ago to get some information and share some information with him, and it turns out that he's actually got his work all done. He says what the timeline is it'll take them another couple of years to review it and publish it. But the study is actually done, but that study doesn't really focus in the Fairfax area or what possibly may occur with industrial development at the industrial park. So there was discussion at that meeting about, if he could focus a larger study into the city of Fairfax and the surrounding area. And when I say study, it's really more of a model. So the city's already gotten an agreement in place with LRE and ISG to do a desktop analysis similar to this, but this would actually be a model, be more detailed, in depth. So it's kind of an extra layer beyond the desktop analysis. And they would look at basically the model, put in what the city has on all the surrounding wells. They would add in the proposed well, before that we're currently working on future wells that we're looking at, and then go above and beyond that. If there's another well that we need to look at 15, 20 years for future wells, where that may be. And then they would include if the industrial park does utilize the slurry and add wells down, how much could they, how much water could they pull out of the slurry? Could they pull out 1 gallon a day, 500,000 gallons a day, and not impact the city of Fairfax water supply and the additional surrounding area? And then another item that we kind of talked about after the fact was, Walford, if they end up going to a public system, or add additional wells to the slurry in the future,
how that may impact the city's water supply source. And then the last portion of that will be, I think the timeline is kind of the next month and a half, 2 months, you have all that done. And then when the city does the well next spring, summer, well number 4, and then an observation well, we can update that information with the data that we get from those wells. So that's kind of the basis of what the proposal is. It will be above and beyond, it will be more detailed than the current desktop study that we're having done.
All of this is to better arm ourselves regarding our concerns of potential water usage in the proposed annexation area in Cedar Rapids. So the more firm knowledge that we have, the better position we'll have.
Well, it's like the guy's gonna be doing a physical model, and so that will be better in court if we do decide to go to court. Then have a memo or whatever from ISG, something that the court system can physically see, this is what is going, predicted is gonna happen, I think would help us out in the long run.
To your point, Kate, hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah, what you hope, you can wish.
Well, but before that, it would really be a useful tool for the DNR.
Yeah.
So if we have this study done, and it says, yeah, because nobody can control, the city of Fairfax can't say, we don't have purpose here, you can't tap it. But if we had this study done with the model, and the model says, yeah, they can add wells down there in that area, but they can only really draw whatever, maybe 400,000 gallons a day, 1 million gallons a day. And if they want to pull out, 10 million gallons a day, you got this report that says you can't, pull out so much. And the DNR is gonna, lay that pretty out.
Are there other towns that are aware of this, taking the same approach and use this aquifer?
It's a lot of Johnson County, rural subdivisions and Coralville, a lot of places. University of Iowa has a slurry. No, they got a Georgia.
They have all three actually, they have a river, Slam, and Jordan.
There's a lot of other ones they use the slurry.
What he was talking about too is just all private wells, just the farms, farmsteads, lake.
Some of them don't go that deep, but
They have a little effect.
But what about them joining on board to have a model set up for them, so there's more than just Fairfax?
So I think that's part of it, if the city wants to move forward with that, that's a discussion you can have with the city of Cedar Rapids and Alliant Energy, if they want to participate in this, or if they don't want to. That's something they may want to participate, and then have, I think that would look the best to the DNR, if, all the players wanted to be involved in this specific study, but take it to them and say, this is what we're gonna do, do you want to participate? So it's gonna impact that, the industrial park, which is in Cedar Rapids, so Alliant and Cedar Rapids would have interest. If they say no, I think that looks very well for them. But
so we would have our engineering, information and not proof, but documentation that Mike's model is a physical, actual data model, taken from drawdowns from actual wells. It is as true as you get to the real thing. One LRE is gonna do an ISG is a desktop model, pulling data in that they can accumulate in what is proposed, what is past, happened, but it's not physical drawdown information they get from other wells. But Mike's would be as accurate as you possibly could. And he's got most of it from 2019, he's already got the one in Fairfax done, that he just add to it. So he's got a big chunk of this already created that he's done.
yeah, and I don't understand the entire process, but so when they did their Johnson County study, they like to use rivers and streams as boundaries, and they could boundaries for aquifers. So they actually included the Fairfax area in that study. But obviously, it's not as detailed, it doesn't include possible role for Walford, possible role for industrial park, with that. But even more so, if they focus on a smaller area, they get more accurate information. Again, it's a model, so it's not, can't say 15 years from now, if they do drill 4 wells down there and the city adds 4 wells and all that, that's gonna be exact, but it's gonna give you a good idea, and then DNR is gonna utilize that for planning purposes.
Shane, do you know in his development of this, would he be talking to the city of Walford?
But the Walford water is not, it's all private basically, well.
Right,
the
but
city doesn't
still.
have-
I think that's something that we would have to do, and that's something I'd be happy to talk to their boss, see if they're interested at all, or they may not want to look that far down the road, but at least it's, maybe it never happens, but we know they've had some issues, and they have enough issues that the DNR may step in, and if that's the case, it may have to.
Shane, did anyone at Johnson County that's participating in this, the well study that they're doing, are they concerned at all about this? I mean, that's the whole point of their well study, is to see what's gonna happen with our water aquifer. So you would think that this would have a big impact.
I don't think they know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, did we
Yes, we
sent
reached out.
information to them, I just can't believe someone hasn't reached out to us
Well,
and said, what's going on, because that's the whole reason they're spending all this money to do this study.
well, Mike was the one that did the study, and I guess he did know about some of that information, so I think some of that probably got plotted into the study, but not as detailed into our area in general.
I mean, if they provide a study and then all of a sudden Cedar Rapids tries to throw in 4 wells, their study is useless.
Well,
That's what this study would specifically do, it would model, how much, because what would happen is, in his model, they would plug in a well or 2 wells or 3 wells, how much do those wells draw down? And then at what point does it start impacting Fairfax as well? Now, obviously, you get down to Johnson County, I don't know what your nearest Sorian well may be, it may be 15 miles south of there, so it's gonna obviously impact Fairfax a lot quicker than it's gonna impact Johnson County.
I'm just looking for more people to be on board with this if we have to move forward.
Well, Fairfax North Liberty, you would think they would get real excited about it, and join in. Whoever-
Swisher.
The more towns involved, the better.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, what they also mentioned in the meeting was, as part of his model, would anticipate how close they are able to put non-interfering wells over there, which might also prove to the fact that they cannot put that many wells over there. And so, where Cedar Rapids may be involved in wanting to know that, just on their own, and that's where Mike was hoping that they would join in and maybe even take on some of the cost for their own benefit as well.
Well, Mike was also unaware that he was thinking that 15 million gallons for the entire site. 15, not 15 times 5 to 8. He said it's almost physically impossible for that to happen, that slurry to produce that much water. So he says, it's physically, even if it can't happen. So,
Even when we were at class, we were talking, several talking at our sewer site, but same comments, it was unaware.
Yeah.
How much they were looking for.
yeah, the DNR was unaware, they're talking that much water.
Open that window up there, the DNR too.
Well, I think we need to proceed with it just to cover
For sure.
our own.
And you'll note that the projected cost is 21,000 with some optional items that could cost an additional 5,000.
Just let you know, money wise, we do have just over 20,000 still, maybe 26,000 still in a water study, pot of money that we have borrowed. So it's like a perfect fit. Not all.
Do we need a motion for this?
Shane?
Yes.
I'm assuming this, so the 40 hours at like $100 an hour, that's the computer modeling runtime, right?
Yeah, that's his time.
That's his time, the computer runtime for his model, I'm assuming, right?
So if the council is in favor, then I need a motion to consider the resolution to propose this professional services with Mike Gannon.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, Tom?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Further note, I think we probably, and I know it's already dealing, but I think we need to reach out to communities, because, the more they're aware of it, I think the more likely they are to want to participate with this or be involved. Considering how much their theoretically want to take out.
Even if they have private wells, it's just the order.
Well, the DNR did say that the private person, private well, takes precedent over any municipal well. Because that's their only water source. So the DNR puts a lot more weight on private wells, making sure they're protected before they look at municipal wells.
Are they shallower than what this would be?
A lot of them are, most of them are, they're in a different aquifer. But there's, I think Mike said there's only a few in this area that are in the Solarian, and Fairfax is one of them. So there's a few test wells outside of town in the Solarian, but they're not actively used. They're used for testing purposes. They're just drawn out.
Okay. Moving on to item 12. Consider resolution to approve Clarity's first edition plat. This is not within the Fairfax city limits, but is within the 2-mile review area. And Shane, you've looked at this, correct?
Yeah, it's a final plat for Lynn County. It's at the northeast corner of 151 and Wright Brothers Boulevard. It's technically in the 2080 agreement with Cedar Rapids, so it's in the Fairfax annexation limit in 2001, which extends through 2025, but by law, they go for 10 years, so whether or not that's valid, it doesn't matter. But I see no issues with it.
And Chris, you looked at it as well. Well, Chris and Shane have looked at this. So I'll consider a motion to adopt this resolution. Second,
Second.
roll call, Marianne?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to some pay applications and change orders. First up, item number 13, pay application number 3 from Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete for Heartland Heights Park.
So all you're paying for on this one is basketball court painting. Next month, potentially, grass, things to grow. Close this one out, ready for tennis. Any questions?
There are no questions for John. Need a motion to adopt this resolution for pay application number 3.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, Marianne?
I'll abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Number 14, change order number 5 from Nelson Electric.
So this one's for, there's a short section of an existing 8-inch storm pipe down at the complex that ended up being in the way of one of the light pole footings. That they had to cut and install some dams and reroute it around the whole footing. They couldn't move the full location because otherwise it would be in conflict with the water main nearby, or if we go the other way, it'd be way too close to the sidewalk. So the only option was to have them reroute the storm around the pole. All we had on this was the design locations for the park plans.
light pole was positioned based on that, but we'll drill and put it, and it'll be a little off, so. Any questions?
No questions. Need a motion to adopt the resolution for change order number 5 from Nelson Electric.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
roll call, Tom?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And item number 15, resolution to approve a pay application number 3 for Nelson Electric for Parks Electrical Upgrade Project.
So the big items on this, which you're paying, are the, all the conduit and bollard footings at the Hawks Ridge. And the bollard lights, the material cost of the bollard lights themselves, so. Any questions on this one?
Motion to adopt the resolution. Okay. Second,
I'll second.
roll call, Marion? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Number 16. Jane's gonna talk to us about a possible resolution for professional services agreement for the design of the West Cemetery Road replacement project.
Yep, so this is this is for the design services for West Cemetery Road Bridge, which you probably recall, the city had received, entered an agreement with DOT for federal funding for the bridge. This includes structural design. We're working with Origin Design Company out of the area. Origin does the bridge inspections for Lynn County. John and I coordinated with them and talked to a couple of bridge designers. Be the best consultants to work with structural design of the bridge. Also have, with federal funding, we have to go through an environmental process. So we've got some portions of environmental stuff, so that's included in there. If you notice, there's a couple of alternate items from Origin Design. One is retaining wall, and one is for extra tall abutments. So when we had met with property owners that are gonna be mostly impacted with this project back in early June, I believe it was. Really didn't get a lot of comments back from anybody. We got some Barb and Barb Connor. And there's really two comments. She has concerns about flooding, which in reality, the highway bridge impacted a little bit. West Cemetery Road Bridge, but the tall abutments would help shorten up the bridge length. If we do that option, as we get into the preliminary design, we can look at that and see if that's a viable option, shorten up the bridge length. And then the retaining wall, the other concern that Barb had was her outbuilding that's just sits right on the south side of West Cemetery Road, west side of the creek. There's a door on the north side that she would like to maintain access to, so really the only way we can do that is put a retaining wall on that south side of West Cemetery Road, on the west side of the bridge, so. Looking at which one and where that could do the taller, we do end up putting in the tall abutments, how that layout works. Put in that retaining wall to maintain access to percent now. So that's what those two are for. One thing I do want to point out too is this does not include geotechnical services. Typically, we run those services through Long Haul, and our insurance will not allow us to do that anymore. So we've got some quotes that we'll have on the agenda for the city to consider next month for geotechnical services. We still review the work for me, all the work for them, with them.
like a terracon type thing then, is what we're talking about?
Any questions for me?
How long do you think it will take to complete the design and
So there is a schedule in there. Depending, a lot of it's gonna be on the right of way acquisition. If that goes smoothly, we could have it under construction in 2025. But that could be 6-month to 12-month process. So I'm anticipating that'll probably be constructed in 2026, likely out the bids December of 25, January 26, around there. Construction 26.
So you can't really do the design until you have these surrounding property owners all figured out with them.
Well, the DOT, with the federal funding, administered through DOT, kind of a hand-in-hand thing, so we've got to do a preliminary design and figure out the impacts before we can negotiate any sort of right of way. So we talked to the property owners, formally let them know there's a project, we met with them, kind of explain the project, the tentative schedule, ask them for any concerns they may have. Like I said, or that a couple, other than that.
I'm sure it's still irritated up. I was out there the other day, that's wrong. Oh, yeah.
I guess the city will figure it out, if people along stone, they'll figure out how it is that they're done.
I can't believe a bridge has gotten F for like a quarter century, it's crumbling. Wow.
So we need to, this next step we need to do on the process is we have to approve this before you can go any further with the acquisition.
Yeah, so if council approves it tonight, we've got our surveyor scheduled to go out there and start surveying next week, like all the information. The kind of the first step then with Origin, they do hydraulic analysis of the stream.
Since this is a pretty big number, Cynthia, can you remind us what our federal funding?
$1.5 million, but that's just for construction, that's not correct, that's not design.
It's just for construction, design right away, not.
Okay. Any more questions for Shane? If not, need a motion to enter a professional service agreement with Hall and Hall. Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 17, our resolution about park fees.
And
Joe, are you gonna talk about this?
I am, I'd like to request that I be able to sit here instead of moving myself up to the podium since I'm in my booth again. If that's all right, Cindy, will Al be able to hear me?
The owl will hear you if you're downstairs.
All right, just wanted to make sure. So, last month, if you remember, we, created the, park pavilion reservation fee for non-city of Fairfax residents. We tweaked the wording on that a little bit because the resolution said non-Fairfax residents, but there's a distinguish between non-city of Fairfax residents and non-Fairfax residents. There are people that live in county that do not pay taxes into the city that are still considered Fairfax residents because they have a Fairfax address. We've cleaned that language up a little bit. In addition to that, we have also removed the 8-hour minimum without city council approval. There was really no need for that. After we got looking at it and reading the rest of it, we removed that out of everything. There was no need for that, that restriction. And then finally, we have added the rates for the community garden. And we have, for 2024, we believe that we're gonna go to a full plot, which would be the 20 by 50. We'll go to a half plot, which would be the 20 by 25. And then we will do a quarter plot, which would be 10 by 25. Some of the feedback that I am getting from some of the older residents that go out there is that 20 by 25 is a big plot for them to work. They don't need that much. So in response to that, we've offered a 20 or a quarter plot. The pricing on it, honestly, is what we would have done this year had we had that quarter plot. Until we get all of the water figures and the water usage, we don't know what those rates are gonna be for 2024. I wouldn't expect them to change, but we need to get the water usage first before we do anything. And those are the changes.
Any questions for Joe? If not, need a motion for the resolution to adopt these park fees.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please. Tom?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next resolution on the agenda is simply to set a public hearing date for budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 24, and our next council meeting date is what, Cynthia?
September 12th.
September 12th. We'll just need to adopt that resolution, setting that public hearing date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please, Maria.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Number 19, resolution for transfer. Cynthia?
I think this is just about the, early payoff of the loan, just moving, money from, the TIF fund to the debt service, and from the water debt service to the regular debt service to pay off that GO loan that we paid off as of July 17th.
Need a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please. Marion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Number 20, resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Iowa Department of Revenue regarding the state set-off programs. Cynthia?
So this is a program that we already participate in, except it's called the offset program now. And the council approved that, I don't know, a few years ago. And what it is if an owner moves out, sells the house before we realize that they're moving out, they leave a utility bill. We went originally with this program, we decided that we would get $150 from a homeowner if they don't give us their social security number, which gives us more on deposit to go towards that. Or if they give us their social security number, their deposit's only $75. And if we have their social security number, then we can file paperwork with the state, and then if they get an state income tax refund or gambling winnings, they send the money to the public entity that has filed this offset, which is what the old program was. They send it to us before they pay the person. So with Governor Reynolds' reorganization of state government, eliminating departments and stuff, now this is moving to the Iowa Department of Revenue rather than whatever department it was before. And they've now called it the set off instead of the offset. And it's just a memorandum of understanding, same program, just different department with the state. Does the same thing.
Sounds like a lead then.
Of their future.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call, please. Tom?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, claims. Any questions on the claims?
I'll just point out that we did put the Northway well bill on there for the well rehab, even though we
Got it late.
didn't get it on the agenda. I would suggest that you approve the claims and we issue the check and then you, in the resolution that we do for the motion that we do in September to note that. I mean, Kevin had let you know of the project, you know, everyone knew that it was happening, it's just that we didn't have the exact amount approved. But if you're uncomfortable with that, we can remove that.
Motion to approve the claims?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opportunity for citizens not on the agenda. Anybody else like to talk? That's not, okay. We're on mayor's comments. Just, a heads up. Next Tuesday, we are meeting with Dennis Jordan, who is part of the Alliant family. He requested the meeting and he wants to talk about annexation schedules. He would like to see us align the annexation into Fairfax with their proposed annexation into Cedar Rapids, and they're really pushing hard for those schedules to be in sync.
So is that meeting Tuesday? For some reason I had it down for Monday. Is it Tuesday?
On Monday, I'm sorry.
I was
It is
like,
Monday.
is it Tuesday? Cause I have it down Monday.
Monday, 9 a.m.
Okay.
We are meeting here, so we're on our own turf anyway. These two annexations are taking quite a bit of thought and time and energy. And we're gonna keep doing what we need to do.
And Dan Manning is planning on being in attendance.
And our annexation attorney, Dan Manning, will be attending, which is a good thing. Jane will be there.
A little bit of insight, I don't know how accurate it is, but, when I was at the academy, I went to a PNC advanced session. And we were talking about annexations, and the planner from Iowa State said really what's in the statute is the city development board is to approve annexations as long as the, voluntary submittal, that they've done all the notices, all the legal steps that they're supposed to. That our concerns about future of what's going on the land or what water they would be using or what that would do to our aquifer, they're really not supposed to consider, not whether they would or not, or whether we could, affect the scheduling, a little bit, I don't know, but just to give you that input.
So the current environment seems to be on processes and procedures.
Yeah.
Rather than impact. So that was the only additional thing. So that is next Monday at 9 o'clock here, and we'll keep everybody posted. Cynthia, did you have anything else?
I don't.
Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone have a good evening.
Oh, there's 90 minutes. That way.
You can't.